Hey everyone, I'm back. Today I'm going to talk about JMRI and how to use it, how to import all your cars and everything from JMRI. I'm going to pick up kind of where we left off after studying the software. So if you don't know how to start this all up and everything, go back and watch the other videos and they'll come up, you can come up to speed. On the software, I got a little bit verbose, I guess. That got a little long, but you can kind of skip ahead in it if you're, going back to review and catch things up. So here we are. We've powered up the software and we're up to the main screen. And I'm going to assume that you started up RFID with JMRI disabled. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go over here and we'll configure the program to use JMRI. So I'm going to say use JMRI. And now I have to tell it where to go find those XML files. I had to make one change to the XML files. A better programmer than me could do this without the change. I just could not find enough help, on Google, and even with Chat GPT, I couldn't find the solution that worked for me. It might be the version of software I was developing on, but it's only a small change, and in the long run, you'll probably like this to begin with, because what I want you to do is go into JMRI and go into the file structure and find the XML files under the XML files for operations. Then I want you to copy out the cars and the engines and the locations files and put them in a separate folder that you can play with. And this, by separating it out like this, it'll give you a layer of confidence that you're not going to mess up your JMRI files. I'm sure you got a lot of work in those. you definitely don't want to destroy all that work. So I'm going to pick it up from that point. What I did was I went into JMRI and I pulled out those files, and on my desktop I made a folder and I just dropped a copy of those files in. And so this is that folder on my desktop that I created. And I have the car roster and the engine roster and the location rosters in here. You'll see I have a copy of them as well. Since I'm going to be modifying these files, rather than, oops, I made a mistake and then having to go back and dig them all out again from JMRI, I make a backup copy here. So if I'm playing with this and I mess it up, I can just go back and revert back to the original by using the copy and try again. That's all this is about. You can do it your way. But I'm going to show you an example using the engine roster of the change that I had to make. So I'm simply going to open these files with Notepad. If you've got an XML editor, you can open it with XML editors, your choice. Notepad works fine. So when you open it up before the edit, you're going to see at the very top of the file, you'll see all this header information. And the file that the header that we're really interested in is this doc type right here. It wants to use this DTD file. Now, pardon me, the Java software will go in here and will let you use that file and everything. But like I said, I never got it to work. I just never found a good solution on how to use that. So the answer was get rid of it. So that's what I did. And once you get rid of it, your file is going to look like this. It's exactly the same. except that line's missing, right? And just save it off here in this folder and you're ready to go. That's the modification you have to make. Once that's done, you can use this. After you've done your import, you can just delete these files. You don't need them anymore. So that's a simple modification. And like I said, probably gives you that layer of comfort that you're not going to mess up your JMRI by copying these files off. So let's move forward. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on my car roster button. And I'm going to go out, in my case, to my desktop. And I'm going to find my folder here, JMRI test, and the car roster. And I'm going to say, OK. So now I've gathered that path and file name and put it in here. And I'll repeat it again. I'll simply go out and get my engine roster. And then get my location roster. Once those are filled in, I'll hit save. Now when I hit save, the program is going to shut down. And then I'm going to have to pause because I didn't set up to reopen the program. My boo-boo. So I'll pause and be right back. Okay guys, so I'm back again. And all I did was restart the program. And I had to restart because it needs to reread that configuration file to pull all that information in from the config file. So we'll go up to the file again, and this time I'm going to say, well, we can review the config real quick, just so you see it remembered all of it. So we'll cancel out of that. And now I can go in here and I can say import JMRI files. And by default, it says, let's go get the cars. So I say import. And it tells me, okay, I imported 13 cars. That's nice. Now I can drop down and I can say import the engines. And this is a good example here. There's a couple of the entries in the JMR XML file that my database doesn't like. That means it's probably got an extra character, a special character or something like that in one of the fields that it doesn't like. So there's this one entry that won't get transferred in. And there's a second entry that won't get transferred in. But 19 out of 21 entries were imported successfully. I'll go down here and get my locations and import my locations. And I got 7 locations imported. And now I'm done. So I'll cancel out of that. Now, as I tell you in the manual, once you do that import, that data is not available to use. It is not in your serial RF or radio frequency ID database. It's in the JMRI hold, which you can see over here. JMRI hold. Now all these are up and active. You can see I can enter them. So I can go in here and view these cars. Now, I can view all these cars, and if by chance there's 1 or 2 of them that I really don't want to pull into this system, I can simply highlight it and delete it, and it's gone before I even start trying to work with these cars. So I can filter my list right here if there's things I want to get rid of. And I can do the same thing by looking at the engines and looking at my locations. I can filter the list by deletion if I choose to. Once I've kind of reviewed my JMR files that are in the holding table, then I go over to programming, and now you see I have highlighted here all these work with JMRI options that were grayed out until I configured to use JMRI. So if I go to JMRI car hold, now I get a list of the cars that are in the hold table. But I can select one and I can say import. Now, from the time I hit the import button, you've seen this. You saw it during the how to use the software installation. So I'm just going to hit it briefly so that this video doesn't grow long like the other video did. So it says be sure to provide the human owner's name, right? So it's just a reminder there. Boom, up comes the programmer screen. The one it's the exact same screen that you see when you just go into normal programming. And so what do? You have to give it an owner name. That's why I put the question marks there to help you kind of remember that. Give it an owner name. And then, depending on whether it's a car or an engine, you're going to give it a color and a model. You'll give it the road name. You'll give it a road number. And you'll tell it what type. Now remember, I still have to do an update on this screen because I only show types for engines, like if it was a steam or diesel. But if you're going to work with a car, then you want to put whether it's a box car. I'm sorry, let me back completely up there. I started telling you just like you were doing this normal. I forgot we're importing here from JMRI. So this is the power of my little import. All these boxes are filled for you. Okay? The color and the type and the road name and the road number are filled in for you. That's the power. I pulled that in out of that database for you. All you have to do is put the name of an owner on this tab. When you do that, then even this is filled automatically for you. Because if you're working with the cars, it'll have the car selected. So once you give it an owner's name, you simply have to hit send to the reader, and it sends that information out to the reader to the new tag that you've got sitting out there. Writes the information on the tag, brings back the car RFID, and transfers that all into the real serial RFID database. Then that car is available to be used. The next car fills in. You just go select the next car, it fills in. You keep repeating. And as you take cars out of that table, it's removed. So you can do part of them now, and you can come back tomorrow to do part of them. And the ones you've already done have been pulled out of that hold file for you, and you don't have to worry about them. You know they've already been processed. So that's basically it, guys. That's how you can use the JMRI option. And it just pulls the car information out of JMRI, puts it in a hold file for you, allows you to go in under programming, select whether you want to import your cars or your engines or your locations. Use that proper screen. It'll pull that information in for you. Straightforward. So let's wrap this one up and call it quits. It's a good day. Went fast. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, guys, I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.